If you own a Sony ZV-E10 or any other Sony entry-level camera, I'm going to show you how to get the best footage out of that camera. With these settings, you can get footage just like this. This is right out the camera, no creative filters, no picture profile, no color grading. Hopefully, after you get done watching this will have improved your content, and go ahead and comment down below, that way I can check out some of your guys' channels and see the content that you are making. If you're going to be making content like me, then you're going to want to press the function key. You're going to want to get out of this and change your shoot mode. Now I have mine set to a memory, but I'm going to go ahead and change this to manual exposure. Now if you're going to be shooting like outside content and you haven't been shooting for a minute, and you're new to cameras, you might want to stick to intelligent auto. But for content like mine, where you're sitting down, the focus is you're in an office or in a set space, not that much movement, then manual exposure is what you need. So now that you're in manual exposure, you want to click the menu key. You're going to be in the second tab right here, shoot mode, manual exposure. We just changed that. You want to go to file format. Now, if your camera doesn't have 4K, then just stick with the highest of HD, but my camera does have 4K, so we're going to jump into 4K right here. Now, my record setting is already set to 24 frames at 100, so this is going to give you that cinematic style. I know a lot of people like to shoot in 30, so if you want that, then you're going to want to shoot in 30 frames per second at 100, but cinematic style, I do prefer that, so I'm gonna stick with the 24 frames. For now, just leave the slow motion stuff alone. Now slide on over to the next page. Now autofocus transition speed. Usually it has it set to like 5 or 6, I believe, but I set mine to 3. And then for subject, I set this to locked on. Usually it has it up here. Now responsive is usually good for quick scenarios, but since we're gonna be sitting down and talking and I'm in my gaming chair, locked on is probably better. That way you don't get that weird pulsing that some people get when you're recording. Now let's move over to the next page. Audio recording level, you can set your stuff here. Now I don't usually record with the in camera. If I do record, it's just to have a backup, but mainly it's just to align audio later in post. But you generally, want to have it in green. You don't want it to peak and be like extremely too loud. You never want to hit the red. That's a good reminder for people who aren't familiar with audio recording, is you just don't want to hit the red. Audio level display on, steady shot. Now this does give you that good Sony stabilization, but it does bring in that crop, so it just depends to you on how much the crop bothers you. For us, since we're going to be sitting down and doing content where there's not that much movement, go ahead and set that to off. Next page, not really much to change here, at least for me. I did take off the recording light, so some people like to have that on and some people need to have it on as a good reminder, but since I usually just record here in my home, I don't really have a need for it. Zoom range, I keep clear image zoom on. Grid line, I like to put on the rule of thirds. Zebra settings, I'll probably mention that in another video. You don't have to worry about that right now. And all this extra stuff can be talked about in a later video. Not really much to bring up there. Now this is where things get a little bit interesting, so you kind of go back on the tabs here, go through the pages. Now product showcase mode is actually a pretty cool feature where if you have a product in front of you, it'll give you that nice bokeh effect, and it focuses really well on the product and it blurs everything out. A lot of people like using this. I even use it a lot, not just in video but also in photos. But since again we're recording ourselves, just go ahead and keep this off. But it is a very good feature. Usually all of this is going to be set to just how you want it. You don't really want to change too much here. Soft skin effect, you want to have that turned off. White balance, I usually leave this as auto. Sometimes when I'm like in the mood for it and if the setting's right, I'll kind of put it in underwater auto, because it kind of gives a nice little look that I'm personally a fan of. You can also set your white balance if you have lights and you know what your lights are set to, and you can get some pretty good footage out of that. But if you don't really have professional lighting or any key lights, or if you just don't know what it is, then auto is going to be your best bet. Priority set, again white. I have dynamic range and auto HDR set to off. Creative style, I don't know why that's on landscape, but I'll put that on standard. Picture effect, I have that off. Picture profile, I'll go into probably a little later in another video, because I do have my own picture profile that I use for my videos. I don't have flash on this camera, so all of this is set to off. Exposure, ambient flash, that's good. Not really much to change here. Focus mode, keep that to continuous autofocus. Focus area, I usually keep it on wide if I'm gonna be recording parts of my desk or any other parts of my living room, but if it's gonna be me talking, I'm gonna leave it in zone, and I'm gonna choose the middle. That usually works out for me. And once we go back to the menu, face eye autofocus, yeah, priority is on, and then subject detection human. If you have pets, it does give you the option to choose animal, but obviously I am a human, so we're gonna kick this. Now once we get out of here, this is where some of the fun begins. So once we get out of the menu section, now you can start controlling your dial, start moving things around. Now I'm at 24 frames. Generally you want to double that, so I'm at 50. So you want to keep your shutter at 150. Now as far as aperture goes, you can dial it to about as low as you want to get it. I usually tend to record at about f2.8 for, you know, stuff around my desk, products and all that. But if I'm going to be recording myself, I like to bring it down to f1.4. It gives you that real good blur, that good bokeh. Now for ISO, general rule of thumb is that you want to keep it as low as you can possibly get. Since I'm at f1.4, I can get it pretty low, and I like to put it like at 100 or 125, and that gives you some pretty good cinematic footage. As far as exposure goes, I leave that pretty much all auto. Function key here, standard style, picture profiles off, ISO is 100, focus area, zone, so we're good there. Go back to function. Yeah, so once you have these settings, you should be pretty good to go. Now that we've made the changes, now that you have the settings, this is what your footage should be looking like. And obviously it's not going to be one-to-one because we're going to have different lighting, and that's where you can really start to improve in other aspects, like putting more money into your equipment and stuff like that. But even without having the lights that I have, or even the lens that I have, you should be good to go. Even the kit lens that comes with the Sony cameras can take you far. And I'll actually link a video down below to someone that helped me when it came to setting up my camera, and they actually show you what the footage is like with the kit lens. But let me know if this video helped you, and thank you for tuning in. I will talk to you guys next time.